All right, we're live.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of That Fantasy Show. I am your friendly local neighborhood YouTuber, Michael Amen, joined by.
Ryan Wilczek.
All right. And of course, we have still Miss Ella with us on the show today, and she is joined by Ella, who's here with you.
Archie.
Hey, okay. So, it's a family affair here, if you haven't figured out yet. We are just local brother in laws, and these are our beautiful children. And we are about to kick off week 3 of our show. So, what do you say? You guys up for how we normally kick off our show? How do we do that?
By the Pledge of Allegiance.
We do the Pledge of Allegiance. I absolutely love this part of the show. So I will go ahead and have our flag hanging. Ella, you can come into my microphone, baby, and go ahead and get the country started today for the fantasy show.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yay.
That's how I like to start my mornings too. You know what I mean? We definitely we love football Sundays here in America. And I hope America has a beautiful day today. We are going to let these kids go on ahead and get out the room while we talk some football stuff. And we will get everything going for our show this week.
Yeah, let's get our stream going in the background.
Yeah, I kind of want to see what we got going on here. What do you do? Just hit this? I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, if we wanted to start with our recap of week 2, how did everything go for week 2?
Week 2. We're still working on the background here. Give
Yeah.
us a moment while we work out the technical difficulties.
We got some issues, but
Yeah.
here we go.
As you know, we're just getting going, low budget.
Yeah, low budget
Learn
show.
as we go, but I think our main points are to have fun and just do a little better each time, and we're going to compound.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So, it's week 3 of fantasy, and most people, you're probably 1-1. I don't know a lot of teams in any of the leagues I'm in where people are 2-0 because a lot of people had a good week, a lot of people had a bad week. Not many players had 2 good weeks, so.
Yeah, I have a 2-0 team and an 0-2 team, so I'm on both ends of the spectrum there.
Okay, and I'm right in the middle. I am 1-1 in both leagues that we're in, and I'm actually very optimistic, even though after the first week I had zero hope.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, these
It's
injuries
easy.
will kill you.
it's easy to start in the hole.
Yep.
And then obviously with the players, last week we talked a lot of busts, right?
Man.
A lot of busts. This week 2 we saw, for example, Marvin Harrison Jr. He goes out with a dud. You're kind of worried if you drafted him and started him, but if you held with him week 2, you got a dividend. Almost 30 fantasy points on Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
last week.
speaking of that, I own him. I
Hey.
started him week 1, and I benched him week 2. So I am that guy.
Yeah. Some other notes on week 2, we had some tight end booms. Week 1, I think the top 2 tight ends just barely over 10 points. Everybody else is like low single digits. And I think last week, we had a few guys that were up high.
Yeah,
We got Brock Bowers trending up.
man.
Mark Andrews bounced back a little bit. Kind of got his share back from Likely. What else did we get week 2? We got Alvin Kamara, 4 touchdowns. Insane week.
Unbelievable game. Unbelievable.
Another note, Malik Neighbors, 18 targets for the Giants.
Can't believe that. And speaking of that, if we're recapping week 2, if you tuned into the fantasy show last week, not to pull my chain a little too hard here, but I recommended Daniel Jones for the people, and I went out on a limb, put my name on the line, and I said that I don't care how bad the world is dumping on this guy. He's good enough for fantasy. We're not trying to win Super Bowls. I'm just trying to win $20, $30 from the family group. So all I want to do is just have fun. And I put my name on the line with Daniel Jones, and he went out and finished QB6 for the week. 2 touchdowns, not an exciting thing. If you had Jordan Love and you were able to fill him in, you might have won your league for that week. So, yeah, Daniel Jones. But also, can't get too high or too low on these calls because I also recommended Cortland Sutton, and I think he had 1 catch for 4 yards. So as high as I was, you can be back down low, and that's okay because I think other people would have had more faith in Cortland Sutton than I had faith in Daniel Jones. But with that being said, I'm not going to start Daniel Jones this week, but thank you, buddy, for holding me down last week.
Some other week 2 recap notes. I think we threw a shot in the dark for Yoshi, wide receiver from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Only 2 catches, but both catches for a touchdown.
Yeah.
On 4 targets. So
yeah, he is
take that one.
amazing. He's probably the future there in Cincinnati if they end up losing T. Higgins, which seems likely, but at least we got somebody capable to replace the fella. So.
Good stash there. And one last note on week 2, Jordan Mason. If you're able to pick him up for backing up McCaffrey while he's on IR, you are very happy. You're going to start off pretty well for first 5 to 6 weeks of the season.
And he's projected to do well this week too. So, and that's the situation I'm in. I had McCaffrey, and I had to use free agent dollars to go out and get Jordan Mason in the expert league. And luckily, I was able to get him, and I got him pretty cheap. So I don't understand how that happened, but thank you, fellas, for sleeping on him. He had a pretty good week last week, and I was definitely excited. So anybody that picked him up, you're definitely going well. So, and he's probably going to start another 2-3 weeks at least, right? So
yeah, he may be able to cement himself into more of a shared role with McCaffrey.
Yeah, which that'll be
Especially-
easier for
yeah.
McCaffrey to take a little wear and tear off a hip.
Oh,
so.
yeah. If we've seen the history of injuries in the past, I think they're going to do anything they can to prevent that.
Yeah.
So that consensus number 1 pick not looking so good now on the redraft leagues for Christian McCaffrey.
Yep. So hopefully you got capable replacements for him. But anyway, if we want to move along to week 3, maybe we can highlight some guys and help you out if you have some situations where you're not sure, or again, there's more injuries. People lost Tua last week. What are you going to do here for quarterback? The running back situation's up and down. Receivers are hot right now. And tight ends, that's a real crapshoot. But let's see what we got going for you.
All right, we're going to jump over to the Fantasy Pros rankings.
Yeah, we love Fantasy Pros. If you're not hip to them, please go check them out because this is a wonderful site. Lots of information.
Yep, so they have weekly rankings, so we're just filtered to week 3. We have our PPR standard ranking set, and this is what it's going to spit out for us. We're going to start here on the quarterbacks.
Okay, so I wanted to highlight somebody real quick. There's a couple guys I like, but I like this matchup a lot, and I'm going to go Dak Prescott. So he's going against Baltimore, who's allowed the 3rd highest yards per attempt, and they've allowed the 9th highest passer rating. And Dak's at home, coming off of a loss. He still threw 293 yards last week and got a touchdown, besides 2 turnovers, which I feel like he could get cleaned up today. And we all know that early season Dak Prescott is definitely fantasy muncher. He's QB 10 right now, but he's going to get yards and touchdowns, and that's what you need in fantasy football. Not sure who's going to win that game today, but I will tell you what, Dak Prescott's probably going to get you at least 20 points.
Some other notes out of week 2. Deshaun Watson had a good bounce back.
That was
after
nice.
a week 1 dud, so you're happy there if you stashed him away.
And that's a guy who's could be potential for later on in the season. Just stat muncher right there. And that's what you want for fantasy football. Like I said, I don't know if any of these guys are going to win Super Bowls or do well in the playoffs. But we want to win our fantasy matchups this week because I ain't trying to lose. In the Closing with Steve League, I picked number 1 last year. And that means that I lost the year before. So I don't want injuries. And I want to make sure I put the right people in the right place this year.
And that helped me out. Traded your 2nd round pick, turned into a first pick of the 2nd round.
Yep, you got to make some trades here, and you're going to give away some stuff that you don't want to, and you're going to get some stuff that you didn't know you were going to get. Another guy, though, Brian, I wanted to highlight is Geno Smith. So, Geno Smith's currently QB9 in fantasy, and he's averaging 18 points a game. He's at home, and he's going against the Miami defense that's allowing the 9th highest yards per attempt and the 7th highest passer rating. And this is Miami's first game without Tua. So I'm not sure how much they're going to be possessing the ball, which means that Seattle's probably going to have the ball a lot. If they get out to an early lead, that could be not the best for Smith, but I like him to have an efficient day today. And with Jackson Smith and Jigba the day that he had with him last week, I think this is a prime spot for Geno to have another decent week. Like I said, QB9 already, and that's a guy, if you had Tua, he's probably available in your league. He's probably not on somebody's bench, and that's a guy you could plug in and start right away.
Oh, for sure. Another guy that pops out, Baker Mayfield. He was sitting on waivers in most leagues, and he's came out. I think he's QB2 in terms of fantasy points right now.
He's rising up. That was crazy. He was available in everybody's league when week 1 started. I don't know anybody that drafted him, picked him up. Wonderful for Baker. Good for him.
Right, we're just messing with some things in the background. We're just learning as we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut this over to a different view. Maybe we'll see a little more of the screen and us. So we're going to transition now.
Yeah. And like I said, we're just getting our content together. We are not the best content creators, but
Oh,
man,
we're going
I
to figure it
tell you,
out.
yeah.
It's a huge learning curve. I think, week 1, we weren't using any software. We come in week 2. We're using the software. We got little tricks up our sleeve. Nothing special yet, but we're going to figure it out.
Yeah, and then we'll just get rolling, and then maybe we'll be a little loose when we're not so worried about all the technical issues because, typically we're a little more loose and we like to have a little more fun, but yeah, it's crazy when you're worried about, is this computer working or is this thing going? Is the music too loud? But we got a lot of supporters out there, so hopefully people will stick around through it and we'll just grow. But
Sure. Well, let's jump over to the running back.
ooh, I love the running back position this week. So one of the guys I wanted to highlight, if you want to go down to number, I don't know where he's ranked on this list, Tony Pollard. So Tony Pollard he is 11th.
16.
He's 11th in yards after contact, and the Packers give up the second most explosive run rate and the 12th most yards per game. Just a spot at home. I like for him to definitely do some work. I look for him a big day today. They used him a lot last week. And another running back I wanted to speak on. Oh, sorry, I let an ad go too. I gotta be on point. Zach Charbonnet. This is the 3rd week in a row I'm gonna say his name. That's just fun to say, Zach Charbonnet. But anyway, he's RB8 last week with his first start because Kenneth Walker wasn't able to play. And he had 5 catches for 31 yards. So even right there, that's just 8 points without a touchdown. So again, he's going against that same Miami defense I was talking about when I was highlighting Geno Smith. Miami's pretty mid versus the run. They rank 14th, 15th in a lot of the categories. But again, no Tua. They could be behind early, and that just bodes well for Seattle just running the ball and trying to control the clock.
Yep. All right. How's my mic sounding? Am I good?
You sound much better this week.
All
I
right.
can't believe.
I got to speak more clearly, less mumbles. I'm
Yeah.
known for mumbles, if you know me.
Yeah.
Allie will attest to that.
Yeah, that you can say that again. But no, I think we sound great this week. So hopefully next week we're just going to be worried about our content. There's a couple guys that I wanted to highlight in the running back position, kind of flyers that I guess people would call them. Maybe, like I said, you got some injuries or you're not sure who to start. Somebody had a bad week last week. Cam Akers, he's likely starting today for Houston. He had 4.6 yards per attempt last week. Like I said, just a flyer. I don't know what to expect. There's not really much of.
Sitting down here at 29, trending up in the rankings.
Yeah, he's definitely trending up. And, Minnesota's pretty good defense so far this year. They were kind of handling San Francisco enough. But that's just a guy, you need to plug and play. Maybe you want to stash him in case that Mixon injury is a little hurt. And then another guy who's going to get used a lot, but I don't know much to expect out of him, Carson Steele. Kansas City. It's tough to start a Kansas City running back outside of Pachenko. If you've been playing fantasy the past few years, they pretty much like to pass or do the short passes. But he's going to get used high volume because the other 2 guys that are playing today have just been signed maybe a couple weeks ago. So at least this kid's been playing with them through the whole training camp. But
Yeah, didn't they bring Hunt back?
They did bring Hunt.
Back, getting caught up to speed.
Hunt won't play this week, I've seen, but for the future, that could be.
Yeah, I think that can be expected. You bring a guy in, he needs at least 2 weeks before he gets going, especially if he's already familiar with the offense. That helps, but it's not a guarantee.
Right.
And we'll know Kansas City, obviously, Pacheco's out, broken tibia, I believe, or
Yeah,
fibia.
so he's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks
Yeah,
there.
one of
with
those
that.
leg bones.
Yeah, but, so he saw 38% share of goal line snaps and 22% missed tackle rate by him. So, he's going against an Atlanta mid-run defense, and they're 8th in yards after contact. So Not saying it could be a big day, but like I said, you got an injury or you're not sure who to start, or even if you're just thin at that position, stash that guy on your bench. I'm gonna be honest, I have him in both of my leagues, so whatever happens, happens. But I will take a flyer on him.
Yeah, another guy down here, Bucky Irving. Been hearing a little chatter about him.
Great name
Another
too.
rookie out of here. Oh yeah.
It's fun to say. Another fun name.
I don't know if I can attest to that. Go Blue, if you know what I'm talking about.
Right. But yeah, I do like him, and I've seen him get picked up in a couple leagues. I think what's their starting running back's name? White, I believe.
Yep.
Not having the best season so far, so even if you have him, that's a perfect guy you want to stash too. Lower end of the
White's up
rankings.
here in the top 20. Rashad White, but that Bucky's his backup, and he gets a good share of snaps right now.
Yeah, and a lot of teams do that two running back thing. I mean, one's premium, but that doesn't mean that the other guy isn't going to come in and get some work, especially if he's a pass catcher. Because if you're in a PPR league and your running back comes in and he gets 4 or 5 catches and like 40 something yards, that's pretty decent right there anyway. That's better than if he's just a runner and he only rushed 14 times for like 70 yards. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, one last point here on running back. If you watch the Thursday games, Ramondre Stevenson kind of put up a dud for you. That whole New England offense looked anemic. Man,
yeah, that
those
wasn't a.
those first 2 weeks they got you comfortable, and if you had them stashed on your bench, like, all right, I'm gonna plug them in. I did that.
I think everybody was
and-
ready for him to go off too. And the talk before the game was the Jets defense was no good against the run.
Yep. So my condolences to Stevenson owners, especially if you started them. All right. Do you want to jump over to wide receivers
Yeah,
now?
we could go over to wide receivers. I got a couple guys I wanted to highlight.
All right.
The first guy I wanted to highlight, Jamar Chase, and I'm going to sound like a homer, and for this one, I don't care. So he's had, 2 subpar weeks by his standards. And they're going against a Washington defense that just gave up 3 touchdowns to the New York Giants last week. And going into last week, everybody was telling you the Giants were the worst team ever. So that bodes well for Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow got rolling a little bit last week. He spread the ball around a lot. He was mostly using those tight ends there, but the offense was, a penalty away from possibly winning the game, beating the Chiefs on the road. So,
Oh yeah, it was tough to watch, especially if you tune in just for the end. It seemed like a typical end to a Kansas City game. They're down there, 3rd, 4th and long. Don't get it, flag.
Yep. And that's how they all work out. And, they were guarding Chase pretty well. I think, they've been embarrassed by him the last few years, and they weren't going to let him embarrass them today. But I just like him to have a big night. Washington home game, Monday Night Football. They're retiring Corey Dillon into the Bengals Hall of Fame. I don't know if you can see my cup here or not, but I seen Corey Dillon in 2003, and I think I seen him in 2004. Maybe he wasn't on the team that year. But I do like Chase to just have a big game, finally get a touchdown. They're not going to let him go 3 weeks without scoring, number one. So you can book that he's scoring. And then, he still had 6 catches and 5 catches. So he's still getting, catches. You just got to get in the end zone, get a couple more yards there. So I like
Take a
him.
look at some stats here. Season stats.
Yep. He can't get in the end zone. He's not even at 100 yards combined for the both games, but
6 week 1 targets, 5 week 2 targets. I mean, he's 6 for 6 on week 1, so his targets coming his way. He's catching them.
Yeah.
You just gotta tick them
they're
up a little
just
bit.
not getting anything long. His yards per reception are right around 10, and that is pretty low for Jamar Chase's talent.
Before we move on, just so I'll highlight some of the table ornaments today. We got the pumpkin commemorating the first day of fall, spooky season going on.
I'm ready for it.
Oh, we're ready. We got the shirt going. We'll have some more spooky content in the future. So,
Well, I
looking
can't
forward to
wait
that.
for our Halloween episode. You gonna do a costume?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm gonna sit here in full costume. So
Oh, yeah.
stay tuned for the future for our fantasy show Halloween episode.
Won't want to miss that.
If there's another receiver I wanted to talk about. Rashid Shaheed. I'm not sure exactly where
man.
he's ranked at this week, but in the first episode of that fantasy show, he was ranked 54, and I recommended him, and I was so excited that he went off, had a good week. He got a touchdown. He's actually wide receiver 10 in points per game right now.
He is eating right now.
And he's getting a 22.5% target share and a 43.9% air yard share. It's just insane, and he was available on
Almost
every
any
league in
Almost
the
any
week
league.
1. And then after week 1, I wasn't able to get him. He got picked up in these leagues, but he's 7th in separation yards, and he's 24th in yards per or he has 24 yards per reception. So insane. If you don't have him, if he's available in your league, he should be on your team. And I like him to have a big game today. So more
Yeah, a lot
of the same.
would have thought Olave would have been the guy. You're a little disappointed if you had Olave. Week 1, almost nothing. He bounced back a little better in week 2. But, I mean, Shaheed, year 2 guy, I think. He's coming off excellent sophomore season.
I love year 2 guys too. Yeah, so good for him. That's another name. I'm going to pound the table for him every week. He hasn't let me down yet.
Check it off.
I did want to highlight T. Higgins too, coming back from an injury. Again, I am a Bengals fan, but he had a great preseason. He was Joe Burrow's number 1 target all throughout camp. Going against the same Washington defense that I've already talked about a couple times. Like I said, I don't know who's going to win that game, but T's going to get a lot of target share, which that should open up for Jamar Chase. So I just like both of these guys to have a bigger game. One or both of them to possibly score, but I just wanted to make sure he got a little bit of love for that.
I will add my asterisk. Tread lightly with the Cincinnati receivers.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's careful to start anyone. For sure.
We mentioned Yoshi earlier in the show, so he's going to drop down to number 3 with Higgins back. But I don't know. I get a little worried when there's more than one guy you can go to on an offense like that.
Yeah,
especially in fantasy.
And he was using those tight ends last week too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
so and it could go anyway. But again, it's you never know. But like I said, I just think those guys could get a little work today. Even Yoshi too. I still think Yoshi could get tons of work. Those guys can all get plenty of targets. Just how many yards can they get from that? You know?
Yeah, with an offense like that, there's plenty to go around.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how it develops as the season goes, obviously. These first few weeks, they can give you some false hopes. And if you've been around fantasy, you know that. So
yeah, you're going to be up and down. There's 2 flyer guys that I wanted to bring up. Maybe outside the top 50. Again, guys, you might want to stash. Maybe they have a good future here for the rest of the season. Adam Thielen, he's finally got a competent quarterback, not to diss Bryce Young or anything, because I do like that fella. But Andy Dalton is a professional. Not saying he's going to come in and light the screen up, but he definitely knows how to make passes. He's got a pro target there. I like Thielen to have, at least 5-6 catches this week, and he could probably go easily 70 to 100 yards and score. Just a name that I like this week. He's probably happy to, have a competent quarterback behind him. And then
Here
Jordan,
47. I was looking for a while.
and Jordan Whittington for the Rams. This is another rookie, and rookies. I like year 2 guys more than rookies. It's a little tougher, but the receiver situation with the Rams right now is just insane.
I think the entire team's in shambles.
Yeah, so everybody's hurt, and it's next man up. And not that there's a lot of pro tape that I can put on this guy, but all I have in my notes is Sean McVay in the preseason said that this guy's going to be a huge part of our 2024, and that was before people got injured. So maybe that huge part is now. He's ranked 62 this week, just for a couple points. I don't know if you got enough stones to start the guy, but he's someone worth adding. I've added him in one league, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But just a guy to keep an eye on.
When we get to tight ends later, too, you might want to take an eye at the LA Rams tight end.
We can actually move right along to these tight
All
ends
right,
right now
let's
if you
jump
want.
into But yeah,
So-
again, the Rams, I mean, you're crying if you had Puka or Cup. So
It is tough. And that was an offense that was firing. 2 years ago, if you had any Rams receivers, you were pumped. And now it's like,
Well, let's touch right here on the tight ends for the LA Rams. I mean, our highest ranked guy right now, 15, Colby Parkinson. Take a look at his stats.
So he's definitely getting some targets, especially
Yeah.
that first week. Last week, not as many, but
yeah, so more targets with Cup week 1. Week 2, only 2 targets. But, I mean, we might see an uptick in that. Tough matchup against the 49ers, but
and they're back at home this week. They've been on the road the last 2 weeks. So
yeah, they're going to have to get creative with that offense if they want to win in spite of the injuries.
So tight end, this is a position that is just weird to me.
It's scary, man. Normally you get 1 or 2 solid guys every year. This year, Kelsey hasn't been doing much at all.
Yeah, I actually have that in my notes. Kelsey only has 39 yards through 2 weeks. That's insane.
Yeah.
So
And they're still 2-0.
yeah, and it's just a position that there's no excitement here. I mean, like, I guess you're excited if you got Brock Bowers.
Oh, I'm excited.
I mean, he's a rookie, and it seems like he has no ceiling. So that's good for me. Kyle Pitts is still not blowing up. No one's really dominating this year. Some of these guys had a good 1 week, but they didn't have a good another week. So it's just a position I don't
Yeah,
find any
Laporta
excitement.
week 1 did nothing. Andrews, obviously, we talked about that last week. It looks like he was being shadowed by Likely, but now you got them both ranked in the top 10, and it could go either way any week. So that's a frustrating one too. Like you're not
And
going to want to start more than one tight end typically.
right. I would never start more than one tight end. So go ahead. If anybody out there is listening, there's no need to start a second tight end in your flex position. There has to be someone else better available.
You got to be on like a 14-man league to do
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
you were
there's-
fishing at the beginning of the season. Some guy just came out.
There's no scenario where I'm bringing myself to do that. And this is a position where I'll just take what I can get. I have Dalton Kincaid. I think in another league, I don't remember. Probably picked up Mike Gesicki in the family league this week, but I'll just take what I can get from this position. I try to dominate elsewhere. Like I said, this isn't a position where someone's dominating one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, look, Hunter Henry last week, he just went off.
Yeah.
That happens at least once or twice a year for him. If we look back to last year, but you can't trust someone like that every week if you got a guy above him.
Yeah,
It's scary.
Yeah, so don't get drunk on the Kool-Aid of tight ends having a good week, because I guarantee you a bad week is coming. You just got to roll with the punches with this position. So good luck with your tight end selections, because I also need the luck as well.
Yeah, we're hoping for the trends to stay the same. Especially you got a guy like Bowers. Week 1, I personally didn't start him because you don't want to start a rookie
Right.
tight end right out the gate. I mean, Laporta last year, he was an anomaly. I mean, we might be able to eclipse that this year with Bowers, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Again, fantasy.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot, but hopefully things work out in your favor. What do you say, Brian? We move along and we
Jump
go
into
ahead
Ella's
and
pick 6.
yeah, we can
Wanna
go
jump
on
over
ahead and
that?
get Miss
All right.
Ella in here. So if the ladies want to send these kids in, and we will go ahead and let both of these kids come in, and we're going to let you know how Ella's picks did last week. And then we're going to go ahead and see who she has to select for this week. So maybe we can get these kids on in here. I feel like they hear us out there, so we should.
Oh,
have
yeah.
no
We got him
problem.
sneaking in right now.
Hey, cuties. Let me back up. You're going to go right behind me, just like we did before, okay? Okay, Miss Ella. You want to take one of my headphones? Let Arch get on this side of you.
Come here, Arch. Arch's first time on the show this week.
Hey.
Get some cuteness content going, right?
Okay. So, Ella doesn't know how her pick 6 did last week. So let me tell her live on air. Ella, you picked out of 6 games. Do you remember who they were? Probably not.
Probably don't.
You can lean a little closer too so the people can hear you. So last week, Ella picked 3 winners. Yeah! So, Ella picked the Chiefs, the Texans, and the Falcons, and they all won. But the Lions, the Colts, and the Broncos let her down. So hopefully, this week, that is improvement. Maybe this week we can win more. What do you say? Okay, so I have these matchups written down, and maybe we can have Uncle Brian, if he can find just some like pictures of these logos. Ella has her 6 games already selected, who she is going to try to give you winners from, and she's going to have help from Arch. Arch, you going to help Ella? Yeah. Okay, good idea. So the first game that Ella wanted to select from, because we've already laid this out ahead of time, is the New York Giants at the Cleveland Browns. So Ella, that's that right there. If you want to look at the logos and say whatever you would like to say about the teams.
I really like the Broncos.
This is for the Browns and the
Oh.
Giants.
My bad.
That's
We'll
okay.
figure it out as we go.
I think
We're all learning here.
Browns.
Browns. Okay,
what
your
does
family
that?
at Cleveland is going to love that. So the first pick in the pick 6, Ella has the Cleveland Browns over the New York Giants. Go on ahead and book that. The second game Ella would like to pick from is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you hear that and when you see these pictures, Ella, who do you like?
the Chargers.
Go Chargers, go. Okay.
Harbaugh.
Ooh, I think Arch likes that pick too.
Yeah, we got some Arch commentary up back here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, the next game that Ella would like to pick from in the Ella's Pick 6 for week 3 is Philadelphia Eagles at the New Orleans Saints. What do you think about that?
The Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Ella, I think that is a good pick. That would be a good game, too. Maybe you'll watch that with me. Let's go to the next game that Ella would like to pick from. Ella, Denver Broncos at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you like out of that?
We got a horse versus the Pirates.
And you already said you like the Broncos, and I think you picked the Buccaneers the first week, and they won. Broncos. Let's go back to back on the Broncos.
Hey, Archer, you want to make a guest pick? Come here, bud.
Come on, Arch. You can come make a pick. He said, I'm bailing. Get me out of here.
Arch, on the Broncos, Pirates. You like Pirates? Who's your favorite pirate? Can you tell the people?
He
Captain
sees
Cuts?
himself on TV. Say hi.
Archie
said-
picked Captain Cuts. He's a animatronic this year that we got at home. Big fan.
Is that a pirate?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so
All right.
he's with that too. So he might disagree with you there, but no big deal. So far, Ella has the Cleveland Browns, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Denver Broncos. She would like to pick next out of Chicago Bears at the Indianapolis Colts. When you hear that, Ella, what do you think?
I like the Bears, but I also like the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts.
But if I had to pick one, I would probably have to say the Bears.
Bears.
The
Okay,
Bears.
we're going to bear down with the Bears. Okay, so the last one. Now, this is a big game. They're calling this one of the biggest games of the week. It's the Baltimore Ravens at the Dallas Cowboys. So when you hear that and you see that, what do you think?
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Ooh.
That's who I think's going to win too. baby. Okay, so if we want to recap week 3 Ella's Pick 6, she has the Cleveland Browns, the Los Angeles Chargers, Philadelphia Eagles, Denver Broncos, Chicago Bears, and the Dallas Cowboys. Ella, thank you for your Pick 6 this week.
You are so welcome.
All right. Thanks, Ella.
Okay.
Archer's off camera here, but Ella's going to pick them up, and they're going to head out, and we'll see them next week.
All right. I like that segment. I think they had fun with that. Arch was having a good time
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
himself on the TV there.
We'll have to give him a stool next time. He's kind of hiding under the table.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good thing. That's how we advance for next week. Because, you know, when we do this, we obviously watch these tapes and figure out how we can get better next week. And that is where we're going to go next. So what do you say? This is one of my favorite parts. We move along to the Closing with Steve League.
All right. We're just going to get set up here. Transitioning the children out still.
My Corey Dillon Cup. Oh, no.
Archer's left behind. We're going to call for reinforcements. Come get Arch. He's waving a flag in the background.
Well, I think it adds some cuteness to the room.
Oh, yeah.
So,
All right. Let's just get our standings going.
if we go to this Closing with Steve League, as you see, we're going to get the standings in the background for you there. Only 2 teams are 2-0 and they play each other this week, and only 2 teams are 0-2 and they play each other this week. So that is going to change for someone and stay the same for someone. Good luck whichever side you want to be on there.
Yeah, we got the Gary Broom Mean Machine going off against me, the Haddonfield Slashers.
and that is
And
a championship rematch.
We got the Slashers here. Yeah.
So
That's a
in
big
that
one.
league too, you guys are also the 2 highest scoring point fellas, so that bodes well for you.
Yes, sir.
Almost everybody else middle of the pack, and the last 2 right there, they still have some firepower. If you're 0-2, you still got a chance here in this league.
Yeah, let's go right to the head-to-heads here. You can see I'm not off to a good start. 1 point. That's out of Trusting Stevenson. I had Pacheco. He obviously got hurt. I'm like, all right, well, Stevenson, or I could have started a receiver in my flex, DK Metcalf, but I'm still not trusting him yet. Week 1, he threw up horrible numbers, but week 2, he just went crazy. But
I didn't realize Stevenson got you that bad. I
oh,
haven't looked at
it
this
is
yet.
not good.
Are you still projected? It looks like you're still projected pretty fair there.
Let's do a little. I'm gonna do a little fix on the overlay. Give me
And
a
this
second.
Allenville team, they're not going to go away anytime soon. If you scroll up and down that matchup, it's filled with like all second year guys. So these guys are going to
Oh
be
yeah, And
on a
he-
good 3-4 year run
yeah,
here.
and he
so.
has a bench just stashed with rookies right now. Let's
So
show the
congrats.
bench here.
I actually saw this owner yesterday at the restaurant, and he was praising your team.
Oh, yeah?
He says your team is very deep. He sees why you won a championship. Like I said, you guys are 2-0 for a reason. There, you got some good teams there. So
Yeah, last year, I felt really good about the way my team was. It was a rough season, though. Like, I had a lot of injuries. I squeaked into the playoffs. I was 500 and ended up getting hot just at the right time. So,
and that's all you got to do. Like I said,
Mhm.
you can sit here. There was a guy who started this league like what 8-0 or something, 8-1, and he ended up losing the first round of the playoffs. So it's better to be hot later in the season. So again, if you're not having the best fantasy year at the moment, it's only been 2 weeks, man. Chill out. You're gonna be okay.
yeah, let's go to the 0-2 matchup.
Ooh, the 0-2 matchup. Okay.
So we got E's Detroit Ballers and Matt's California Wildfire.
So who do you have that got that 13.8 right there?
Alan Lazard. That is a good start, I think.
Oh, and that was a good pickup for him. I did
Yes,
see
sir.
that was a free agent pickup for him. Again, this is a good team here, the California Wildfire. I've been on video here before praising their team. A lot of second-year guys. He's heavy at receiver, dealing with some injuries like a lot of people out there are in fantasy land. And same thing with the Detroit team. I know he suffering an injury with who does he have? Chubb. Nick Chubb's gonna be sidelined for a while, so he's been like struggling at his receiver
Looks like
position.
he's
But
on IR right now.
but,
Obviously.
hopefully a solid future for him. Like I said, me and Detroit, they were near the top of the draft, and I'm just rooting heavily for my bottom feeders to be top feeders next year.
Yeah, let's jump over that matchup. Zyria Pioneers.
So the Pioneers are going against the Miami Is, and I am pretty confident in my team this week. As we talked about Jordan Mason earlier,
Oh, man.
still can't believe I was able to pick him up. I think I only spent like 15, 17 free agent dollars.
Yeah, talking about that free agent budget, week 1, or preseason actually, we had a guy spend 100% of his free agent budget on Zamir White.
all of his
Which-
money.
Oh yeah, but preseason that looked good. I drafted him in another league very high, and that guy's been a dud so far.
Yeah, and for those that don't know what this is, like I said, in the expert league, you got to bid on your waiver wire players, and you get a certain amount. And typically, people use this to last throughout the season. But there's another guy who used all of his free agent dollars on one player. So
Yeah, Washington Sentinels. That week 1 likely tight end performance, it really baited him into using his entire budget.
I guess if you want a guy, you're gonna go get
yeah,
him.
If you need a tight end, he's plugging him in as starter right now. So I mean, that might pay off for him. But man, going an entire season with no budget, you're just sitting there at 4 a.m. waiting for waiver wires to clear to see who's left over.
And you got to be crafty with it too.
Yep.
But listen, there's always someone out there available, so I like to keep a guy or two on my team that I could drop at any given
We'll jump
moment
back over to your
pick
matchup.
up. But in my matchup, a lot of my guys are projected well, and that doesn't always mean anything. But like I said, with Jordan Mason had a week, and then James Cook's usage is just out of control since Joe Brady took over offensive coordinator there in Buffalo. I'm back to starting Marvin Harrison, which I don't expect much this week, just because
you missed out last week.
yeah, because I missed out last
You
week.
had him
so.
on the other league though.
So I'll roll with the punches there, just because, especially being that he had Hunter Henry, who we just talked about earlier, with a dud in the week.
I'm not the only New England fantasy owner
Yeah.
that's crying after that Thursday game.
So I'm set up for, it looks like a possible victory there, but I'm not counting that because that doesn't always go the way. Although if you look at the screen there, I am the highest projected point scorer for the week, but I'm not buying it. Someone else will probably do better. Let's look at that Scranton matchup there. The Scranton Strangler and Santa Cruz.
We're just jumping around a little. Bear with me.
Just wanted to go in and take a look at this matchup real quick because Let's see. He had one guy who got the 19 points for Scranton there. Oh, Jets
New York Jets
defense. Well
defense
played.
with 7 sacks,
Oh,
one
wow.
turnover, and only 3 points against them.
Wow. So off to a great
Usually,
start. Anytime your defense can get you more than 10 points, I feel like you're having a great week.
oh,
That looks
absolutely.
like a decent matchup. Santa Cruz, again, another guy who was picking towards the bottom of the draft with me, so I'm like rooting for this guy this year. Definitely suffered a loss with the Tua injury. Let me see who he ended up starting. Oh, this was interesting. Yeah,
Gardner Minshew.
he picked up Derek Carr and then dropped him for Gardner Minshew. So maybe that was just a matchup decision. Uh,
So you can see
that's a
2 on
toss up how you
IR.
could go
Caleb
either way.
Williams, that was his first round draft pick there in the rookie draft this year. A lot of people are high on him. We're still waiting for him to really come along. I think he did better last week than week 1.
I think he did better. I haven't been the biggest fan of him, and then I seen some quotes from him after the game, kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Don't necessarily want to bury the guy, but I'm not a fan. Hoping this works out well for Ben, though. Maybe he can be able to start him soon. I don't know how confident Ben is riding with Gardner Minshew for the rest
I
of
don't
the
know.
season, but
Vegas has been doing all right.
he's a solid quarterback. Again, I'd put him above the Daniel Jones thing, but not like an exciting name to start multiple weeks. And then what do we got? We just got one more matchup here again between more 1-1 teams. The new owner and Las Vegas.
All right. So again, the new owner, Jake Podolsky, took over for the highest scoring team last year, and he received some criticism from the rest of the league when he traded away both Puka Nakua and Christian McCaffrey. One might call him crazy week 1, but how the season's played out, how do we evaluate
I
that?
will call him crafty because he probably had Christian McCaffrey injury concerns, and the owner that traded for Christian McCaffrey also had injury concerns, and now he has to deal with them. That's me. Anyway, and then also, like I said, he's plugging in, and he had probably one of the best draft picks value wise. He had a good 1 week. The Bengals kind of held him in check, but getting Xavier Worthy
Oh
there,
man.
being able to start Tank Dell every day. I said he's crafty. You know, you make some trades. There's always going to be somebody that likes one side or the other. I know in our personal trade, uh, we ran that through the trade machine, and it said that he was the winner for that. So
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to utilize the trade machines out there. If you play fantasy football and you have a trade, you don't know what you're doing, just Google fantasy trade evaluator, and that's a good way to really gauge what you're giving versus what you're getting.
And that's how you're going to deal with a lot of the BS trade offers that you might get. You know, you could send to somebody, look, this isn't a good trade offer. But if one does look like BS, you can run it through a trade machine and maybe it's like, oh, actually, this is pretty good. So there's a lot of useful tools out there if you don't know about them. And if you need any help, we do have a comment section. So you could throw it in there if we're the guys to help you. But if not, that's how you can find that. So again, pretty balanced league. We're only separated in points for by what's that? About 64 points there.
Mhm.
So it could go either way. This league does a prize for first and second for total points scored. So even besides division winning and going to the finals, you can get some money if you're even third, fourth place, and you just happen to your team scored a lot. You just went against other teams and had some bad luck in the win-loss area.
Here's a week 2 recap. I will pat myself on the back for 187 points. I think that's a
Yeah,
pretty
the
solid
highest week
performance.
score. That is incredible.
And that's with DK Metcalf on my bench putting up 30.
Yes, so it's been an exciting league so far, and week 2 was fun. Hopefully, week 3 creates more excitement, and as that expert league rolls along, I cannot wait. So, where did you want to go from here?
So we're about 40 minutes in.
I did have some betting recommendations. I know in
Alright.
week 1, I gave a betting recommendation, and then last week, we were just so into this. We were pressed for time, and we got off to a late start. I ended up not getting any betting
A
recommendations.
little late this week
out.
too. I mean, we're working through the streaming software. We're trying to get this set up for a better user experience, both for us and the viewers. Hopefully, you see that. I think for production-wise, you can see the screens better last week. Hopefully, we worked through the audio issues. We're getting some positive feedback on that, so thank you. Yeah, as we learn, we're just gonna, throw in some things here and there. Hopefully, we can have more fun with it. Uh, really utilize the software.
Ooh, I was about to cue up this song. This is the song that got me copyrighted last week.
Oh,
I'm not
whoops.
gonna use
Yeah,
you.
we have some background music playing. Hopefully, no copyright issues. Obviously, we got to learn as we go. There's a lot of little little details that you got to think about when you're doing a stream.
Yeah, and we're
Yeah.
not getting rich off of any of the music because a lot of the stuff they're telling me, like, we can't use it without letting them get their cut too. But if we're not getting any cut, then that means they're not getting any cut, and we're not trying to like rob and steal anybody's music. We just need something in the background.
Yeah, again, we're
While
just
we
trying to
talk.
have fun here. I mean, that's the best way to start a fantasy show or any type of stream. Just do it for fun and see where it goes. I mean, I'm having fun, so
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
So if we wanted to get into these bets, though, if you were tuned in to week 1, I recommended the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Cleveland Browns at plus 118 odds on the road. I thought that was insane, that it was plus odds. Dallas beat the brakes off Cleveland. I placed a $25 bet with a profit boost that turned that into $80, and we had some wonderful Portillo's food that day. That was awesome. Week 2, I did have some stuff that I was going to recommend a bet. We were just behind. Week 3, I am locked and loaded. I have 5 betting recommendations. Not saying that you're going to go ahead and hammer these, but I've done some studying. And I've won a couple bets before in my life, lost a couple bets, but let's just hear me out. The New York Giants are getting 6.5 points against the Cleveland Browns today. However, both teams' points per game is right around the same. The Giants just coming off of putting up 18 points last week, even though they lost. And the Cleveland Browns aren't exactly lighting up the scoreboard themselves. I don't know who's going to win, but I do think it will be closer than 6.5 points. So if you had to ask me where I'm putting my money, I'm putting it on the Giants plus 6.5. There is another line that I like. Minnesota Vikings are at home against the Houston Texans, and they're getting 1.5 points at home. Minnesota's played well this year.
Oh
Like-
yeah, I mean you start off, you get your rookie is out for the year before the season even starts. You're scared. Man,
Like-
I mean, but
Like,
look
you
at that.
lost Cousins. You probably didn't have expectations. Sam Darnold's not a name that gets you excited that he's your starting quarterback. But again, he's from that draft class with Baker Mayfield, and maybe this is just where these two guys are going to have a resurging season. Like, people were down on him for years.
I mean,
you
you're
know-
happy as a Justin Jefferson owner, I'll tell you that.
Definitely, because
Very happy.
you would definitely think you had no shot, and Sam Darnold chugging right along. Not necessarily sure how his fantasy stats are going because I'm not going to start that guy. But if you wanted to place a bet today, I like them getting 1.5 at home against the Texans. Just these two teams are 2-0.
Looks
Something's
like the
got to
spread's
give.
up to 2 now, actually.
Okay, and that Minnesota defense is tough. Like, see, we just seen them shut down basically San Francisco at home last week, so I like where we're going there. I do also like this next line. Let me try to, as I get this music together, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers are minus 2.5 points at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Do we have word? Was it for sure that
Pittsburgh.
Herbert is not playing?
Ooh, I don't know. Let's take a
So,
look here.
so I think that was a game time decision. If he's not playing, I would hammer the
I think-
Steelers to win this.
Ooh,
Uh,
okay. It's 12 hours ago. The status is ankle preparing to play Sunday, but continued questionable game time decision.
So again, they're
After
not
pregame
exactly
warm-ups.
they're not exactly lighting up the scoreboard either. So just the Steelers at home, that's always a tough play. You know, the Steelers, they're definitely not any chumps in this. So I would take the Steelers minus 2.5 all day. Moving on. And like I said, I wouldn't put all these together in a parlay, or I would just pick one or two, but I'm pretty confident in all these. The next one, not going to be the most popular in my current hometown, but I like the Arizona Cardinals plus 3 today at home against the Detroit Lions.
Man, the Cardinals really went off last week.
They have been scoring points, and I'm just basing it off of that. They've been scoring a lot. Detroit has not been scoring a lot comparably, and just Cardinals plus 3 at home. That could be a close game. I still think Detroit probably squeaks out a win, but that could be a close game.
There are some jokes that keep Kyler Murray around until the new Call of Duty comes out. I've seen those float around.
Yeah, then he's gonna fade away.
Yep.
And then one last bet. In the biggest game of the week, the Baltimore Ravens are on the road at the Dallas Cowboys, and somehow the Cowboys are getting 1.5 points.
Because of
Neither
the
of these
Cowboys.
teams have really looked great, but I'm taking the Cowboys plus 1.5. If you're at home and you're getting points, especially that offense, who, even though they didn't pull that out last week, they can drop 30 on you in an instant. We've seen early season Cowboy teams the last 3-4 years. They're putting up points. I expect more of the same today.
Ravens too. I mean, it could go either way. Ravens hungry for a win after starting 0-2. Two
Embarrassing
tough
loss
losses.
last
Oh,
week.
yeah.
Embarrassing loss last week. And those were the bets right there. I didn't have anything much other than that. If you want a couple guys that are going to score, like I said, I'm really Chase is scoring on Monday night. There's a couple other guys that you could see here, running backs, this and that. But if I'm going to put my name on somebody, I'm putting it on Chase to score on Monday night. So I really like that. And that's about all I got as far as if we're just talking about we're doing these bets, we're doing this fantasy.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we have a few more viewers this week. Let's take a look here. We've had 22 views, 7 concurrent viewers. We've had some action in the chat. Shout out to Jaws, I see you. And then Allie out there, my wife. So let's get going on the chat next week. Let's engage the chat, see who we can get on.
Yeah, and as we get more comfortable, we can probably help people out a little.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
you got some sit. We can sit here. We can run the numbers ourselves. We can give you our recommendations. Not to tout ourselves too much, but we are a little bit more on the experience side of fantasy football participants.
I've been playing at least 10 years now. I think I kind of have a good. You have your sources that you go to and you really trust. I mean, Fantasy Pros, that's my favorite one.
Love that site.
Yep. And then you got to use some intuition too, because obviously the rankings you got to take them with a grain of salt. They're generally going to be semi-accurate, but you're going to see a lot of variation when the numbers come out.
And you just got to roll with it all. If you've been doing it for a while, you got to just take in everything you've seen. After a while, you're going to trust your own eyes, your own judgment. Okay, this guy does this even though he does this. So you're going to have your own opinion too, even though you're taking opinions from everywhere else, because a lot of times it can get stressful. Who am I going to pick here, there, where, whatever? There's help for you out there, so you don't have to stress out.
Again, the way we've been approaching the rankings, those top 10, 20 guys in any given position, we're not going to talk you out of starting them. We're going to give you some plugs that are lower down the list that we think could help you out in a bind. And as we evolve, hopefully we can have some live feedback, really help some people out.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you're lucky. Go ahead and ride that streak. But if you're unlucky, maybe we're here to help you out with it.
We got Jake Fidowski in the comments. Good show, fellas, he says. Appreciate you, Jake. Thanks for tuning in. I
appreciate that, definitely. We definitely appreciate the sport. Obviously, we're just starting out. So let's recap how we did so far this week. What you think?
I think it's come together. We had a little time, started a little late because, the hardware issues. I'm working off my 12-year-old college laptop. It's struggling. We're trying to clean it up, but we're gonna get.
I think we sound better, which was our main problem last week. We are not unaware of our own problems as we watch these after we're done, and it was obviously clear the music was too high, microphones were too low, and Ella was a little bored, and that's not her fault. She's just 6 years old, and sometimes this fantasy stuff can get boring. But I think we cleaned up a lot of that stuff
Absolutely.
this week.
Ella in the comments giving us compliments too. Thank you, Ella. We love you.
This has been wonderful. I think this was our best show yet. We're getting ready to probably wrap this up for the week, and we will watch tape and try to get better for next week.
Yeah, I think our camera cut out a little bit there. We're working on that, the stream settings. I think we should have been more consistent on the stream this week with the settings. We're working off an iPhone, streaming to a laptop. Once we get a webcam going, I think things are going to be much nicer. But we're working with what we got, and I think we're doing all right. So,
well, it's week 3, and a lot of people end up quitting this type of show, content, whatever you want to call this, after week 3. I feel more hungry than ever to get ready and get started on week 4, so that's probably better than, like I said, in the first week I gave a stat on Google when I first signed up and made my channel. It said 80% of people don't make it to week 4. we're going to be here for week 4,
We're
right?
gonna be in that 20%.
I like
right?
that. So then we're just fighting with the 20%. We're
Yeah.
just following a dream. I'm not trying to get rich from this, but I do love sports, and I just want to do this. Talk about sports. This was always a dream of mine, and technically, I do have a sports show that I'm on. I'm just not getting paid.
Yeah. No, I'm just having fun. It's a good learning experience. I think
Yeah.
it's really gonna help me in many ways with production and speaking clearly. Hey,
I think you've done well this
Oh.
week. Definitely.
Thank you.
Clearly and loudly, everything was fine. But we'll watch the tape, and
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
try to get better, just like everyone should with everything you do. If you're not getting better, why are you even doing it?
One last note from the comments. Brad Squilt says if he hits some bets, he's going to share some lotto tickets.
Let's go, Brad. I could use a little money. We're going to buy some food with that. I like using my betting money for food. I'm definitely a food connoisseur, and I don't know what I'm going to eat today. So,
All right. Well, I hope everyone's pumped up for these 1 o'clock kickoffs.
all right.
I hope you have a fruitful fantasy week.
I hope everybody wins their fantasy matchups this week. I don't want anybody to lose. And if you got a tie, maybe you get a tie, but I'm just trying to be super positive. But again, very thankful for anyone tuning in, anyone watching this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yep, we appreciate you. Well, I think that's a good spot to sign off.
I think we're good.